Hey everyone, it's John Benson here. Sorry for the late start. Had some tech problems with BeLive. This happens, is what I've been told. Thanks to the integration with Facebook, but I think we are here. I think we are live. I'm going to wait for my staff to come on here and say hello. Meanwhile, I'm going to wait for everybody else to catch up and say hello too. So once you start seeing some viewers in here, we will get started. And today is day 2 of my 30-day marathon on Persuade and Profit. So this is all about how to make persuasive copy that sells. It's really that simple. What you can do on your sales pages, your emails, your ads, everything to make them more persuasive in an ethical way to make you more money. That is the goal. Now, I'm going to talk about email again today as my tutorial, because now this is applicable to anything that you want to do. It's applicable to email, it's applicable to sales pages, applicable to anything, okay? So we're just using email specifically for day 2. And by the way, this is day 2 of 3. And you have to be here tomorrow to get the final part of the whole secret of UIBs. I'm going to cover briefly what we talked about yesterday, just a little bit, so that I can get you up to speed on what a UIB is in case you weren't here. And we're going to make sure that we can see comments and make sure we're all good there. That's great. We can see comments. If you guys come on, just come on and comment. And we're going to get started here. So great. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the tutorial. And I'm going to move my monitor over here so I can do that. And this should give us day 2. Awesome. So let's go right back through what a UIB is real quickly. A UIB is a unique identity brand. And what's funny is that is my own UIB. So this is kind of going to get cyclical, right? I have a UIB called Unique Identity Brands. That is, so when people say UIBs, you go, oh, I know the guy that created that. So just real briefly, all this is taking an existing problem, an existing solution, an existing concept, and then creating what's called a trademark term. Trademark terms, you don't have to TM it with the government unless you want to. They're just simply clever ways of stating something that people either already know or something that they don't know that sounds really cool. Now, we use a lot of UIBs for things that people already know, or there's already an existing problem for, or an already existing solution for. That when we give it our own name, it becomes unique to us. Now, I'm going to give you a great example again. Budweiser Beer's Beechwood Age. If you remember the commercials back in the 70s, this made them billions, with a B, billions of dollars. And almost every beer is Beechwood Age. They just coined that term. They trademarked it. It is a UIB. Now, over the 3 days, yesterday we covered the primary cause. So go back and watch that video if you didn't see it. Today we're going to cover the primary solution. And primary solution is not your product. It is the mechanism that makes your product special. For example, inside Email Copy Pro, that is not my primary solution. that is the product. The primary solution is something called dynamic blueprints. And then tomorrow we're going to do mistaken beliefs. These are awesome for content, awesome for emails, because the one thing that I'm a big proponent of is talking to someone's fear base. So everyone's got a fear base and everyone's got a joy base. That's what I call them, right? And unfortunately, the fear base is 75% of our brain. That's just the way that we've evolved. And unfortunately, we relate more to things that are urgent, that we have to do, that we're afraid of not doing, than things that are proactive. So we are more reactive than proactive. So to be a good marketer, you really need to speak to the reactive mind. And then you can do all the cool stuff with the proactive solutions, right? But we'll talk about that more tomorrow. So here's some primary solution examples that we're going to give today. And again, I'm going to use email as the teaching tutorial, but you could use anything. Like I said, ads, Facebook, you could use VSLs, you could use script, any sort of copy at all. So the primary complaint in this example is going to be what it was yesterday. My emails are not being opened or clicked. So I'm sure you can relate to this if you're an internet marketer at all. So here's some primary solution UIB examples: inbox branding and persuasion triggers. And we've actually used both of those in our marketing for Email Copy Pro. And now in the new version of it, it's called dynamic blueprints, because we've fused all this together. But I'm going to give you examples inside emails. Now, look at this, right? A mysterious internet marketing tip. People open it more, by the way. A mysterious fat burning tip, a mysterious, make money at home tip. Just the whole thing that it's mysterious. Oh, and I like weird, strange, little known. Those are all really enticing. We want to use intrigue. So there's nothing wrong with intrigue. So it's mysterious because you don't know what it is. So I'm going to do what I did yesterday and break out some of this email for you, just so you can learn some of the NLP structures that we use. And again, Email Copy Pro does this for you, but I'm going to teach it to you so you can use it on your own if you want to. Now, this is called a pre-engagement. Yesterday we did a post-engagement. It sounds complicated, but it really isn't. A pre-engagement is just 2 questions that you presume that you don't know the answer to, that you're going to engage possibly a new user, possibly a new prospect, someone that you don't know for sure. So it's a pre-engagement. You haven't met them yet, okay? But you're wanting to engage them in conversation. And if you remember what we talked about yesterday, we talked about the concept of duality. We talked about the concept of appealing to, you don't know who you're talking to. You don't know if they're in a good mood or a bad mood, but when you're in a bad mood, you tend to drift toward negative things. And when you're in a good mood, you tend to drift toward positive things. So all we're doing here is using 2 sentences. They're actually questions. Are your emails being opened a concern for you? Is a concern something that's a negative or a positive? Is a concern something you want to push away from you or pull towards you? A concern is most certainly something you want to push away from you, something that concerns you. So we start with something negative and then look at the very next sentence. How would you like to discover a mysterious tip for ensuring your emails are opened almost immediately? Well, that's obviously way over the top positive, right? That'd be awesome. So we did something worrisome, then something awesome. That is duality. So we've covered the bases so we can attract more people to read this email. For example, if you just opened up with, are your emails being open still a concern for you? Then I've got something to share. That's good. It's going to appeal to roughly 70, 75% of the group, but you still got those 25%ers over there that are really heavily into the positive. You know, you got a whole, and then you're not even dealing with people that may be just in a great mood. You know, they're not wanting to think about concerns. They're about to leave for vacation. They're excited, or they just had a great time with their mate. You know, they're not worried about concerns, but hey, would you like to discover a mysterious tip? That could reel them right back in, right? Same thing, it works in reverse. That's what engagement is all about. Now, like we talked about yesterday, with UIBs, you want to use the phrases like, it's something I call, this is what I refer to as, it's something experts are now calling, which is one of my favorites, because if you have 2 people in your staff that are experts, I do, I can say experts now call this persuasion triggers. And that lends the mind to believe that, oh my God, you know, like hundreds of thousands of people are referring to this as, and this is very good, by the way, for like weight loss markets and these really big niche markets. When I say, you know, when I say researchers, if I'm a researcher, I can say researchers refer to this as X, and they've never heard this before. So like, wow, it's something new. Now, I want you to hang with me for a second. Something new always leaves something very powerful in the prospect's mind, in their imagination, if nothing else, that leaves the concept that this may be why they're not successful. That is the art of persuasion. The art of persuasion is simply you want to say this without using these words. The reason that you're not succeeding may be X. Now, you can actually use that exact sentence. I've used that sentence many times, but this is a much more soft way to say this. But this is what the mind is hearing. Maybe this is the reason I can't lose me. Maybe this is the reason why my emails suck. Maybe this is the reason why I don't make a lot of money online, or whatever your particular niche or market is. You follow where I'm going with this? It's something I call persuasion triggers. And it makes a big difference when it comes to writing your emails. So that's really all there's to it. Now, I want to show you one more thing that's cool down here. Look at the bottom of the screen. See how persuasion triggers demands opens. Now, that is a really dripping NLP statement right there. That is dripping with NLP. See, that's a command. How persuasion triggers, that is the UIB. Demands opens. So when you see demands opens, it's your brain sometimes doesn't recognize S's. I don't know if you know this or not, but this is a great parenting tip. But by the way, just so you know, I'm not a parent, but I have been one. And so been a step parent. And I know a little bit about this just from NLP, from training in NLP. Your mind doesn't hear the negatives. You know, if you say something like, don't leave your room dirty, all they're hearing is leave your room dirty. They're not hearing don't. The mind just skips right over that. It's like don't just goes right out the window. So that's why you always want to phrase things into something positive when you're talking to a child. Now, what's really interesting is you can phrase things in a negative way, like clean your room or you'll get in really bad trouble. Okay, so that's how you work that. But you want to hear clean your room, not don't leave your room dirty. So that's why I say remember rather than don't forget. Because what do your mind is hearing the word forget. Don't forget. And we say this all the time. Hey, go to the store, don't forget. And how many times does your partner, your mate, your son or daughter come back and go, oh, I forgot. Yeah, you told them to. You didn't know it, but you were telling them to. Well, this is kind of interesting. Your brain can skip over S's too. Now, I know that's really strange. So what you were reading there is demand open. I'm demanding them to open that link. It's kind of cool. Now that is, jujitsu stuff we're talking about here when it comes to NLP. I'm not asking you to have to know all this stuff because, again, I have a machine that does this for me, which is kind of cool. It took me 3 years to program that machine, but nonetheless, along with 30 other guys. But this is why copywriters have such a command of language. That's why we're so emphatic over the little bitty language things we do. And now there's nothing in here that's nefarious or evil or anything like that. This is just a clever way to talk to the brain. And that's how I want you to look at everything I'm going to be sharing over the next 29 days now. These are clever ways to talk to the brain that get someone more engaged, because you have to cut through noise. You have to cut through the clutter. You have to. Otherwise, your marketing will suck. So that's really the option. Okay. Let me give you another one. I feel overwhelmed when it comes to losing weight. That's the complaint. So the solutions may look like this: caloric staggering, rotational refeeding. You see, you don't know necessarily what those things are. Rotational refeeding, especially, you don't know what is that? I don't know. So if I say, hey, if you're struggling to lose weight, it's because you're not using this thing I call rotational refeeding. That's the whole reason. Now go back to yesterday's video if you haven't watched it. I'm asking you to ask your prospect to only learn or grasp or walk away with one idea. It's not 5 things to do. Now, I'm not saying there's not good article uses for like 7 tips for losing weight. Those are good, but you still want to encapsulate it with one major concept. Every one of those 7 tips or 10 tips or 5 tips is all working around rotational refeeding. That's the heart of it all. Or another way to do this is, unless you're using rotational refeeding, none of those tips will work. You see what I'm doing? It's that, or they'll work, but they won't work nearly as well, because that's the truth. That's the truth. So stick to the truth. You always do well. So I'm going to give you an email example of this. Now, I'm using rotational refeeding, and I'm less overwhelmed about losing weight. Now, this is interesting. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. What am I doing in the right off the top, right in the email subject line? I am using, and I put it in quotes, rotational refeeding. Notice the quotes. And I'm less overwhelmed about losing weight. So my assumption is that someone's overwhelmed about losing weight. I'm writing to them. But I'm not saying if you're overwhelmed by losing weight, try rotational refeeding, because that's directed only at them. I'm saying I'm using this. Okay. And I emphasize the whole I'm using this because people consider me an expert. So they're going, well, if he's using it, maybe I should check this out. But then I dive into really powerful post engagement with 2 simple sentences. What's up? I don't even have to use that one. I could delete that one. Overwhelm. We both know that feeling all too well, right? Overwhelm. We both know. So what am I doing with we both know? Type it into the chat. By the way, comments, I said chat, I meant comments. Comments, we are going to do a contest at the end of the next Thursday. We're going to announce the first winner. And the person that has got the most juicy comments, real stuff, not BS comments, we're going to award a prize every week for 4 weeks. And that prize is to spend 90 minutes with me, just the 4 of us and me, on a call, and I will help you brainstorm your marketing. Now, that's a $2,500 bonus that we're giving away to 4 lucky folks that comment. So please do comment. If you know what I'm doing here, comment. We both know that feeling. So if you commented, awesome. If you haven't, what I'm doing here is called inclusivity. Okay. I am being inclusive. It's rapport building technique. So when I talk to someone, and try this again, try this with your mate, try this at home. It's like anytime you say, you and I both want X, and that your mate or your child wants this. You and I both want X, right? And what are you going to get when you know that they want X? You're going to see their head bouncing up and down saying, yeah, you and I both want that. You're building rapport. If you say, look, I want you to do X, it's nowhere near as effective as like, you and I both want X, right? Well, that's why you need to do this. Cool. It's just a way of motivating someone to do something. So what I'm doing here is I'm making someone feel on the same level as I am, equal level, overwhelmed. We both know that feeling, all do well. And here's how I pull in the ULB. It's very simple down here. If you're experiencing overwhelm and you want an overwhelm killer, you got to check out what's known as, notice how I use the word rotational refeeding today. Pretty simple. I don't even have to say what it is. Notice nowhere on here do I even define it. I just say, this is what's saving my ass. And it's a rotational refeeding. You got to check this out. So, and then I close with this promise at the very bottom. I promise you can rapidly burn away those stubborn pounds, So I give them a promise underneath the link, because that's where your eye is going to go. So kind of cool. Kind of cool. Now, this is what we call a solution-driven intrigue. Okay? We had a problem-driven intrigue last time. A solution-driven intrigue is just a positive approach to creating targeted intrigue. You really want that targeted intrigue factor. Targeted intrigue, all that means is you're laser targeting what they're intrigued about, what they want, and you're creating words that make it more intriguing for them. So if you know they want to lose weight, for example, if you say, look, I know you want to lose weight, so try counting calories. How much intrigue does that have? But if I say try caloric staggering, caloric staggering has inside of it the word calorie. So you know it has something to do with it, but you're not quite sure what staggering is. That's called targeted intrigue. Now, this is a positive approach, meaning, hey, I've got a solution. Yesterday there's a problem, and this is the big problem. It's keeping you away from everything. I've got a solution. And this is the positive approach, right? And just like the primary cause, you will become, in your prospect's mind, the only provider of this solution, even if that solution exists in 50 other books. I'll give you an example. Rotational refeeding exists in almost every weight loss book. It's just never been called that. All that is cycling what's called macronutrients, proteins, carbs, and fats. So you eat more on one day, and then on the weekend, you eat what you want. That's rotational. So it's the same thing. Body for Life did this, right? I called it something different. And therefore, I'm the guy that people know about that. That makes you much more marketable in the eyes of your prospects. Or you can have something that's completely unique. Like, for example, Dynamic Blueprints for Email Copy Pro. Dynamic Blueprints is our trademark. That never existed before. We built it. So that's kind of cool if you can build it, but most people don't build something right from scratch. If you do, awesome. If you have a trademarked approach to something, great. If you don't let that stop you. Remember Beechwood Age? They did what most every beer is. They just named it. They came up with a cool name for it. Okay, remember that primary solutions can also become entire campaigns. You can build an entire campaign around everything I just did. An entire sales letter, entire headlines can be built around this stuff. These are just two things we covered in the last 2 days: the primary cause and the primary solution that can literally build 90% of your marketing. I kid you not. It's that powerful. Now, just like yesterday, I'm going to take questions at the end of this in the chat, but I do want you to do something. Go watch my latest email workshop, and you're going to see how all this works inside what I've been talking about, which is called Dynamic Blueprints. That is our primary solution UIB, as you probably can gather by that. This allows you to literally never have to write an email again, except, well, maybe a few emails here and there, just on a rare occasion. But this stuff is that powerful. There's free training there. I'd love for you to go see it. It's my latest workshop. It's at johnbenson.com/email. That's JONBENSON.com/email. Email. Go there, check it out. It's free. I'm going to come back over here to the lovely camera so you guys can bask in my presence. Of course. All right, guys. How was it? Did you guys get some benefit out of that? Was that cool? Was that cool? I want you guys to be saying it's cool. It's cool. I want to know, because if it's not cool, I want to change it. I want to give you guys insane value over the next 28 days and a half now. This is great. So I am going to take some questions here. If you guys have specific questions, I'm going to read through them and say, okay, yeah, a lot of people got, like Terry, for example. She said, oh, you're on the same team. You got that. We know what you're doing. Rapport building. That's awesome. Yeah. Liana says she didn't know about the S's. That's kind of cool, huh? The 2 questions gave me an aha. Oh, okay. Thank you, Terry. Now, this is very important. 2 questions gave you an aha moment. I'd love to know what that aha moment is, because that's the idea behind questions. When you ask a question, let me dive into psychology just a little. Are you guys cool with this? Guys, just text yes, type in yes if you're cool with some psychology. Andy, good to have you. Late to the party. It's always good to have you. Type yes if you're into this. If you really want to, if you want to dive into some psychology. I'm also going to type in. Excuse me. I forgot to do this. My bad. I'm going to paste this into the little doc here so you guys can see it. All right, cool. Show that. See, that's where you need to go. All right, cool. So yes, keep rolling. Yes, we got some yeses here. So yes, love it. Yes. Okay. So interesting thing. Aha moments. Aha moments happen sometimes when people make a statement. Like people, there's great quotes. Mankind can only do blah 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 blah, and you go, oh, wow, that was a deep thing, right? Do you know where most aha moments come from? Curiosity. That's why in relationships, especially with intimate partners, but in friendships, in business relationships, it's a massive thing to get curious. So before you get judgmental, before you get definitely, I'm not talking about curious as an inquisitive, like in Inquisition, not inquisitive, but like in the Inquisition thing, but to really get curious and to ask questions. So when you ask questions of your list and you're really truly curious, aha moments are going to happen, especially if the question is formed in the way like, hey, would you like to have something that would do X? And you go, wow. It was, see, now what that does is say, I've got something that does X, but also in your mind, you're picturing how that would look. Okay. If I just make a statement and say, Email Copy Pro's got dynamic blueprints that let you do X, you can have those moments, but they're not as powerful because questions engage a different part of the brain. So that's why I use questions a lot. If you look at a lot of my sales letters, they start off with 3 questions. That's the reason why they do that. Now, Bogan says this, Lucky Strike did the same thing with It's Roasted. Yes, they did. It's roasted, right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that much about cigarettes, but I remember hearing that from some other marketer. That's very cool. So Yoshi says that I was a psychology major. So this is a very, I was a psychology minor, philosophy major, a communications major, and a music major. I went through 3 different majors and had 2 degrees. But so yeah, I love psychology. I've often loved it. So okay, so it says John does little known secret or something on the bottom of the line still working. Yes, it does, but little known secret. I like to say, like, again, it's like a recently unearthed. Things that are just slightly different. If it is a recently unearthed secret, or a new discovery. Even new discovery is better than just discovery. It's something that adds a little bit more pop to it. Really does help a whole lot. So is the concepts pretty clear for you guys? Like what we're talking about here with the concepts of not only UIBs, but where to use them? Because yesterday we covered where to use them in a negative way, meaning this is your major problem. This is what's keeping you from everything that you want in life. And this is in a positive way. Hey, well, we got the solution to that problem. So if you guys are all cool with that, okay, cool. I'm hoping that this is very helpful for you guys and that you are going to tune in tomorrow, not turn in, but tune in tomorrow and come join me tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, because we're going to be talking about the UIBs for mistaken beliefs. Now, that mistaken beliefs thing is massive. Let me just share quickly. I'm going to give you a little bit of a teaser why this is so important. Is your prospect right now has a litany of mistaken beliefs. And let me go through some of this because I'm in the fitness world, right? Let me just list off something. Type yes if guns are guns. I had the original, but I can't find it. So type yes if you've ever done weight loss or working out. And just type yes if you've ever tried to lose weight. I'm using weight loss because that's part of what I do for a living. So there's a delay here. I was like, hey, no one's saying anything. Oh yeah, I forgot there's a delay. So I'm just going to assume that people are going to say yes. So check this out. All the mistaken beliefs with weight loss. I have to eat 6 meals a day. I have to count calories. Fat makes me fat. I have to exercise every day. Those are just 4 off the top of my head. I could list 20. It's like I just was talking to somebody just the other day that had just started working out. And he's like 19 years old. He goes, I'd love to find out what you're doing to work out, man, because you're looking jacked. And so he goes, I'm working out 6 days a week for an hour and a half a day. I go, well, you're working out 8 times longer than I am. So it's like, it's talk about a mistaken belief. This kid's going to run himself in the ground literally in a week, right? So there's so many mistaken beliefs. Now, here's what's powerful. If you can say, and bear with me, a UIB for every mistaken belief. You know what I call that? I call that bullshit X, or I call that stupid idea blank. And then you can start now I'm going to use a polarizing figure here, guys. I'm going to use a very polarizing figure, especially in today's climate. Donald Trump, no one hate me, no one love me either. I'm a centrist. Donald Trump is a master at this stuff because he'll come up with these stupid nicknames for people and it sticks in your head. Like, what was it? Lion Ted. It's stuck in his head during the debates. And all the other ones that he comes up with. Those are, and I'm not in favor of them, but they are really silly UIBs. Because now, I think it was Beto O'Rourke is that guy's name in the Texas guy that actually used Lion Ted, and this stuck around for 2 years. Man, this stuff is powerful, right? Well, you don't have to use it for nefarious reasons like that. But when you start calling things problems that are real problems, and you say, I call this problem X, you can create a whole series around it. And I'm going to cover on how to do this tomorrow. Cool? So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in again. We're going to see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then every day after that, 30 days in a row. Crazy, I know. So much stuff coming. Everything from VSLs to sales pages to some of the top performing marketing today. And just fun. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. I'll see you tomorrow.